So, okay, Michael, good morning to you. 6 a.m. here, 7 a.m. over there in, what is it? It's not, I think it's
We're in central
Queensland.
Queensland.
It is
Central
Queensland,
Queensland,
yeah.
Australia.
Central Queensland,
Yeah.
yeah. Good morning to you, my man. Thanks for coming on.
Morning, mate. It's good to finally touch base. It's been a few months in the making, hasn't it?
It has. It has been a few months, and things have kind of gone on, and it's pretty common, I'd say, in this field. It takes a while sometimes to kind of make it happen, and when it happens, man, I love it when it happens because, you know, it's meant to be. That's what I think.
I believe in things happen for a reason too.
They do. Michael, I found you. I was thinking the other day, like how I kind of found you and how I got in contact with you, and I think it was through a Facebook page that we both are in, which is the Kiwi. I think it's the Kiwi Dads. I think it maybe was. I think maybe. And
Yeah, it probably would have been that.
Right. Okay. And then I saw, like what you do as a job, like what you do, and I was like, I really want to talk to this guy because like I live in the parenting world of what you do, so we're kind of on we operate in the same kind of sphere in a way.
Yes, yeah.
But I want to come back to that. So my first question to you is, how's dad life?
Dad life's going really well. My two girls are 11 and 13, so we're at a kind of somewhat independent age for them, so we can kind of guide them from a distance. They're both very sporty kids, and they're both doing really well in school. So in that sense, dad life's going great. I'm trying to be around as much as I can during this transition period for them, because I figure I've only got about 4 to 5 years before they start really drifting out on their own. Around that kind of 18 years, they start kind of really diving out into the world and finding what they're interested in and doing their own thing and possibly studying. So, uni could be a possibility at that point. So I'm just trying to be around as much as I can, which is why I'm helping coach their footy team, just so I can,
Gotcha. And that's what you're doing this morning, isn't it? I think you were saying after this you got.
Yeah, so they play on Sunday. So we have coaching Mondays and Wednesdays, footy training, and Sunday mornings is usually when they play a game. So they've got a home game today. It should go for about, we'll be down there for about an hour. I think it's 20-minute halves.
Wow, this is Aussie. This is Aussie rules, isn't it?
This is rugby league.
Oh, the rugby league, right? Okay,
so not AFL. Okay. Yes. Sorry, I should have said that. So
no.
We're coaching rugby league.
Rugby league.
Rugby league.
Okay. Oh, that's cool, actually. Did you used to play?
That's funny you're going to ask that. I had my first footy game back last weekend for the reserve grade. So it's a senior team, adult team. We played last Saturday, and that was good fun. I haven't played in 3 years.
I was going to ask, that was my next question. How long was since you last played?
Well, 3 years, and before. So when we first moved back here to Central Queensland, I had a couple of games. I was out for 13 years because I snapped my ACL, which is a ligament in the front of your knee. You've got 4 ligaments in your leg, one in front, one at the back, and one on each side of your knee, and I snapped the one in front. And I haven't had surgery on it, so I kind of just moved away from rugby league, playing footy, and started doing a bit of powerlifting. And I found powerlifting by accident, and I started competing in powerlifting. And when we moved back up here, I went to footy training and just said to the boys, if my knee holds up, I'll play. And it went really well, and I played, one season. And then after that, I kind of moved back into, dad life and life in general. So I pulled away from footy again, and then I played again last weekend. It was my first game again in 3 years.
Wow. Sounds like there's a lot going on there, Michael. It sounds like,
Mate, that would be the ADHD side of me. I think not long ago I was diagnosed with ADHD and ASD, so autism level 1 and ADHD. So I went and got diagnosed by a psychologist, a clinical psychologist. So a lot of things are making sense now, but it's clear that I always keep myself busy, so I actually have to manage that so that I'm not taking on things that aren't important and take up time unnecessarily. So I'm always kind of auditing myself and looking at my schedule. I've got a full schedule mapped out for my whole year of important events, and we've been doing movies for the community. Got All Abilities Disco night coming up.
Wow.
So I've got a lot going on, but I've found with not drinking alcohol, it's really good for me to stay busy and have a couple of different side quests, moving just to keep my mind busy and my body busy.
Yeah. Oh my God. But isn't it like sounds, man, like I'm just like, there's just so much going on here. Like, I mean, and I know that, like, I'm just trying to think of like where we kind of lock onto and stuff, because you've talked about powerlifting, you've talked about having your diagnosis just there. Maybe let's go back a little bit. Let's go back to 13 years ago, because let's go back there.
Right.
When, like, had you always wanted to be a dad? Was that on your radar?
No, not when I was younger. Like, it wasn't not on my radar, but it was. You don't really think about those things when you're coming through 18, 19, 20, 21. You're just, enjoying life and trying to figure life out and what you really want. And I never really considered it. And then until I met my wife, and then we looked at having kids,
Right. So it was so until essentially, you met your wife, you were like, kids, like, it wasn't something that you had honed in on, because some dads I've spoken to, like, I always wanted kids, rah rah rah, and it's not like me. I'm a bit like you in a sense, like, it was never on my radar. Like, I was just like, kids, I can't even imagine having kids. Like, me, a dad, like, whatever. No, like, and it was out of my head before I could even think about it too much. Like,
I don't think it was out of my head. Essentially, I just never really put too much thought into it. Because until I've met my wife, it really wasn't. It wasn't maybe. Like, I think I've always had like that paternal instinct of, like, I love kids. I've always loved kids and being around people in general. But it wasn't like, okay, I need to find someone to have kids with. It was just, I
hunt them down.
Hunt them down. I need to go on a reality TV show and have kids. So,
oh, that's cool. Well, do you remember where you were when you first found out that you were going to be a dad?
We were actually living up here, and I found out up here in central Queensland because I originally lived in Sydney, and I met my wife there because she's from down that way. And then at the time that I met her, it wasn't too long after that, she was moving up here to just get away from the city life. So I decided to come up here with her.
Gotcha. And right.
And so I found out up here, and I was excited. It was awesome. It was a good feeling for her to tell me and say. And she sent me the photo of the test. I think I was at work in Rockhampton, maybe.
Right.
And she sent me the photo, and I was like, "That's amazing. That's great."
Did you feel like, was there any part of you like, holy shit, I'm gonna be a parent?
I think everybody kind of has that. Not a fear, just a wow! Like, this is a massive life changing event, And I remember feeling that and just thinking, what you don't know what you're in for. There is no kind of hacks or guide that you can read or study or podcast you can listen to guide you into fatherhood. You kind of figure it out as you go, and everybody figures things out in their own little way on their own journey at any given time.
Yeah. What does it mean to you though to be dad? What does that word mean?
Purpose. That's probably the best way I can explain being a father is purpose. Everything kind of starts being structured around them, like purpose and lessons. You start teaching them lessons about life and through your experiences of life and your mistakes, and you try and guide them to become a better person from your lessons so that they don't make the same mistakes, but at the same time you've got to allow them space to make mistakes, because that's what
hard,
life's all about.
I find that really hard. I do struggle with that. I don't know if you do or not, but I struggle with that.
I do, and I'm a problem solver, so it's taken me a long time to pull away from trying to solve their problems all the time, rather than just be a shoulder to lean on and listen to, and not have a go at them for making mistakes that could have easily been avoided. So I'm trying my best to just kind of guide them from a distance, and give them some space and let them make mistakes, because it's how they learn. And I've seen something a while ago online somewhere that said there's nothing wrong with kids doing dangerous things carefully, and that kind of stuck with me since then. Because we don't want them doing dangerous tasks or activities, but if they're doing them carefully, there's nothing wrong with that, because the risk is minimal.
I like that. I actually really like that. I haven't heard that
It's
before.
Stuck with me ever since I think somebody said it in an interview or something, or online, and I thought, wow, that's very true. We're so worried about kids doing dangerous activities or tasks, but it doesn't matter if they're doing them carefully, right? And the risk is low, because we assess the task that they're doing, not the amount of risk, intentionally, because we think that's a dangerous activity. Not they're doing it carefully, so let's just let them keep doing that and guide them as they go, to teach them how to do it safely.
It's very true, actually. It's very true. I think that applies probably to my eldest more than my youngest. Jamie is my eldest. He turned 18 2 days ago.
Nice. Happy birthday to him.
And he has Down syndrome. He has Down syndrome, and he's also
so no personal space. So no personal space. Lots of hugs.
Interesting. Yeah, so you know this well, and I want to come into this in a minute, actually. And he's on the spectrum somewhere. We haven't had that kind of diagnosed or anything like that, but sure as shit, man. Like, because it doesn't change anything for us here. If we get a diagnosis, we've got basically the maximum amount of support that he needs. To be honest, like, we don't need any more, in a way. So, but where was I going with this? I've lost my train of thought. Totally, 6 a.m. in the morning, 6:30 in the morning now. But
have you had your coffee?
No, I haven't. Actually. I got up at 5 and I came straight down here, and I'm going to go back and have my coffee. So I apologise if I'm not on my game yet.
That's all right. I think with the diagnosis, for me personally, like, I had a couple of good friends, even my wife, asked me, "What are you hoping to get out of getting a diagnosis?" Because I already knew, like, that I was on the spectrum, and there were behavioural habits there that I had been working on for the past 5 or 6 years. So it wasn't like, I need to go and get confirmation. And for me, it was cool. If I can get confirmation and get a diagnosis, I'm able to help more people that have these the same habits and personality traits that I do. And if I have that, that diagnosis, it's going to make them and allow them to be more comfortable with coming to me as somebody in the community that enjoys helping others. So, that was why it cost me to get the diagnosis, and it was a massive, like a big assessment. It was like a 3-hour consult plus 3 or 4 hours worth of online questionnaires about, habits and emotional well-being and how you think and stuff. So it wasn't a short process, and it wasn't kind of a tick and flick. It was very, detailed. Like she even called my mum and dad to ask them questions in New Zealand on their mobile phone to just ask them about my childhood.
What did it? I'm really keen to kind of find out how this has kind of impacted you and how it's allowed you to perhaps understand things more. Would that be right for yourself? Understand yourself more?
I've been working on these habits over the last 5 or 6 years, so it's kind of confirmed, what I've found over that period of time. But in regards to the diagnosis, it was just more like a kind of cool, righto, we're on the right path. I've already been working on these things, so. But now I can also help, because my other purpose outside of my family is helping other people. I get great joy and purpose out of helping other people in the community, and it's not even about making money off it. It's just about I love doing it.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about that, because that's a great kind of segue into kind of that, because your job is you're like a support worker, you're a caregiver, caretaker.
Yes. So disability support worker.
Yeah. Okay. And is this through the NDIS?
Yes, this is through the NDIS, which is a government-run scheme to help disabled people. So they provide different amounts of funding to different individuals with disabilities. They all get assessed, and it's done. It's done above board.
Yeah. What made you choose that line of work?
I don't think I chose it. To be honest, I used to do security work when I lived down in the Gold Coast, and I really enjoyed security work. And it took me probably a while to figure this out, but I was doing security work, and I finished doing that, and I got into personal training and powerlifting coaching while I was competing. And then I started diving into disability support work, and it was only at that point that I created Firehawk Strength that I realised I didn't kind of find it. I've always been naturally inclined to helping other people, and that's when the light switched for me, and I was like it's been right in front of me the whole time, but I never really paid enough attention to understand that I've always wanted to help people. And then I pulled away from powerlifting coaching and personal training and diverted everything into disability support. So it's, I never kind of found it was just at that moment that I realized, wow, like this has been my purpose all along, has been wanting to help other people. And I didn't really look into it, when I was doing security work, and I just enjoyed being around people. And then I went into personal training and powerlifting coaching, and I never clicked until I created Firehawk Strength, and I realized this is why I've been doing, I've been naturally drawn to these different lines of work and different industries over the years. And then that brought me towards disability support, and I haven't looked back ever since. I absolutely love it.
I think it's amazing, because I know from a parental perspective of a child who needs a lot of support on a daily basis.
Yeah.
I know how much that can really help and impact a family. Like, it's fucking life changing if you've got not just the support, but if you've got the right fucking people there at the door, showing up at the right time, reliable, they're there, and most importantly, I'd have to say, is that your child likes that person. Now I know that might
Yes,
not kind
yeah.
of that might not kind
I,
of
I understand because not
yeah yeah
everybody,
yeah
like, and I've said this to people that I've worked with in the past and parents of disabled kids, and I've said, look, let's just start with a meet and greet, and it's okay if things don't work out because I understand that I'm not the best fit for everybody, and there's nothing wrong with that on either parts. If we don't work, we don't work. That's cool.
mm,
I can also help try and find somebody else in this line of work that might help or be a better fit for you or your
mm,
son. And that's
yeah
cool. And I've accepted that and put my ego aside.
mm,
So now I've got three people that I look after throughout the week, every week. And it's great. I can focus all of my energy into three people rather than
mm,
having, 10 or 20 different people and my energy spread over those 20 people. So it's good for me too to be able to give as much as I can while still
mm,
giving back to my family too, because I've still got a family and I've got my own needs.
100%, absolutely, yeah. And I think that's really really important because you to be the best dad, father, husband, and support worker. How do you do it? How do you kind of work on yourself? What do you do to make yourself the best?
For me, I've found that I need downtime, and one thing I really enjoy doing is fishing. So I go out on a fishing charter every couple of
That's right.
months, and that gives me time to just go out and not think about structuring business or what I need to sort out at home or what work I need to do, on the cars or whatever. So fishing's one of them. And the
Mm,
other thing is cruising in my classic car. I'll go and jump in that for 2 or 3 hours and go and cruise in that for, go along the beach side and just turn the music up and not think. That those are
yeah,
probably the two things that allow me to just, I guess, recalibrate.
yeah,
Those two things there are massive for me to be able to do what I can do consistently and
mm,
continually. And they're such basic things, and everybody's different as to what they need. And I found that when I did used to drink, it was like I don't know, I really enjoyed it, but I kind of got carried away with it, where I didn't want it to finish, if that made
mm,
sense. I'll start drinking and then I'll be on a kind of dopamine high, and I don't want
mm.
that to finish. So everyone's wanting to kind of go home and go to bed, and I'm like, but what's next?
You just
And
carry on, like
that was probably the ADHD side of my brain, just trying to quieten down the noise, by
mm,
putting myself in that environment. So now instead of drinking, I go fishing and I go cruising in the classic car, and the consequences from those two, there are none. It's not like
no, that's
being
right.
hungover and getting into because drinking. I guess drinking in a public environment brings a different crowd than fishing, in a charter or in the classic car
That's
scene.
true. Yeah,
Do
yeah,
you know what I
very
mean?
true.
So that's the other
Yeah,
thing
yeah,
to consider when you have these kind of hobbies or whatever your downtime is, to understand what sort of or type of people are in that environment that you
yeah.
that you enjoy being in too. So
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, I think there's, some like, do you find like when you say to people, yeah, I don't drink anymore. People like there's a set like I've personally I find it interesting. Like when I say to someone I don't drink, or is that there's this look of confusion first, and then they're like, so why did you stop? Health. Their first thing is health, um,
yeah,
and then they're like, are you okay? Like, do you have any medical problems or something like this? And then, but they're like, they've got this really concerned look on their faces as to, like, are you okay? Do you like, have some kind of serious illness, which is why you've stopped drinking? It's like, no, like, I've just I just don't want to fucking drink anymore. Like I just don't like the taste of it anymore. I got to the point where I didn't like the taste. Like, so why am I going to drink something I don't like the taste of? And then I actually realized that I was, the next day, even just having one drink the next day, I wasn't the person I wanted to be. I didn't want to be that
Yeah.
person the next day. Like, I just, it was hard to get up. It was hard. Like, my brain wasn't as, maybe I wasn't as kind of on my game as I would have been. I don't know. I just thought, I don't really need to drink. Like, and so almost 2 years ago in July this year, I wouldn't have touched any alcohol. But do you get that? Do you get that kind of, people will look at you and ask you, like, so wow, like, like, you, why did you stop? Like, it's this big shock horror for them.
Mate, I get that all the time, and it's been long enough now that I'm used to it, and I've done this in the past for 12 months, so it's not my first time pulling away from alcohol, but I get that all the time, and it's because we live in such a massive drinking culture.
Yeah, right.
Like, and that's worldwide. It's not just here in Australia. It's worldwide. So there's so many people that do drink, and for all different reasons. And I've also found that the response you get depends on where that person is at in their journey of life too. Do you know what I mean? So, because some people unknowingly self-medicate with alcohol, others enjoy the social factor.
I think I did.
Some people,
I did.
The social factor. Or self-medicating.
Oh, self-medicating, 100%.
Yeah, and I think that's probably what I unknowingly done as well. So the response, you get so many different responses depending on what experience that person has had with alcohol and where they're at right now.
Yeah.
So you know, some people are like, oh, like why? And it's often because they couldn't possibly see themselves stopping drinking because they're so reliant on it,
Yeah.
And like last night at the after the Anzac at the RSL, we went down to the pub just down the road, and I was speaking to another lady, and she came up to me after when she was going. She said, I'm so glad I spoke to you and that you're not drinking, because my son's not drinking at the moment too. So I really appreciate the conversation. And I was like,
that's interesting. Oh, that's so interesting. Yeah.
Very interesting. So you get so many different responses, but I've found overall the response has been positive. And when they see somebody like myself that works in the community a fair bit, and they're like, wow, he's doing this and he's got ADHD and ASD and he hasn't drank in almost 2 years, maybe I can do that. So you start I guess, planting seeds for other people to understand that it is possible. It's not impossible. It does take a lot of work and discipline, and you have to fill that void with other tasks and activities that you enjoy doing. Otherwise, you kind of fall back into that habit. Yeah. But I guess it also depends on why that individual drinks in the first place, and it's not until you dive deep into that rabbit hole and find that understanding of why you drink and be honest with yourself that you can approach that problem or issue or rein it back. Like I look at alcohol as a tool, and it used to be something that, like let's say way back in the days where there were tribal wars and Viking battles, alcohol became a tool to celebrate. It wasn't drink. They didn't drink every day. They went into battle, they went hunting, they went fishing, and then after they won a battle or a war, they celebrated, and that was it. But we're doing it now every day as self-medication. We live such stressful lives. Life is much different now than to what it was back then. Back then it was you lived in a village together, you ate together, the hunters went out and hunted, the fishermen went out and fished and caught food and stuff, and then they prepped the food. Then you had, everybody had kind of their part to play in the village. But now we're just a village, we're just one family in each household, and most of the time, if there's two parents, they're both working full time, they're stressed out of their heads, so alcohol is kind of that downtime to just try and forget everything that's going on at the moment.
Just numb the stress, or I mean, absolutely. I mean, it is. I think it's I've spoken on the podcast a couple of times about this, and it's had Richie Hardcore on the podcast the other year, and he's really passionate about kind of alcohol, and he's alcohol free. He's been for many years now, but I think everyone has their own journey, and I don't push, like you most likely as well, is that I don't push this on people to say, hey, you should stop drinking now. But ironically, I think when I remember there was a guy I used to know I used to kind of work with, and he never drank alcohol, and I remember thinking to myself, why wouldn't you drink?
Why? Yeah.
Like come on, this is everyone's drinking. Everyone drinks. Why are you not drinking? This is, and I think that was just my, I was a different person. I just didn't understand because alcohol was so normalized in my world.
Yes. But it's a poison. Everybody's got to still understand that. Yeah, cool. If you like drinking, that's great, and I don't push that on anybody as well. But I've also drank for 20 years or something, so I understand from both sides the effects. And for me, I'm a much closer version of myself when I'm not drinking.
Yeah,
it's just as simple as I can put it. The next day, during drinking, and afterwards. So for me, I'm just a better person when I'm not drinking. My head is much clearer. I've found that things happen when I don't drink. When I don't drink, progress just shifts very quickly and smoothly. I don't have there are no limits in my mind to what I can achieve. You know what I mean? But I'm not going to go out and, change the whole world. I just want to work on changing this community that I live in. That's, But I wouldn't be able to do that if I was drinking, because drinking puts me into another mind state, a different mind state, and a different environment while I'm drinking. So there's consequences and sacrifices that come with both sides.
Yeah. No, that's very true. That is very true. Do you have any to kind of talking about kind of looking after yourself on a daily basis? Because I really believe, and I think these days that if we do things regularly, like almost daily, or we start our day in particular ways, that really sets us up, and it set me up. I found my groove. It's taken me now 47 years to find this, with trying to get my work out what goes, what kind of works for me, and what's
your groove? What have you found that is really good for your routine?
I wake up and I try and depending on the time I get up, I go to the balcony, I get light in my eyes straight away. Yeah. So I get out there, stand out there, and while I'm out there, I'm doing some stretches. I'm doing some, just doing some light calisthenics for about 5, maybe 10 minutes out on the balcony, in the air, looking out there, looking as far as I can see, really kind of, trying to just be at one with kind of the world that I've woken up to again, grateful that I've woken up. And then I come in, and then I hit the shower. I have my hot shower, and then I flick it down to cold, and I'm on the cold shower. And then in that cold shower, I do more, I do up to kind of 40 squats. I do some more kind of calisthenics, and then this is a new thing for me, is I sit down, because in Japan, basically showers and bathrooms, you have a little kind of a little stool that we sit on. So I sit on the stool, and I turn the shower off, and I do mindfulness, and I meditate for about anything between, I might only have 1 minute to do it, but sometimes I'm there for 20 minutes, 30 minutes. I'm just sitting there, and I'm just thinking about me. I'm actually not even thinking about anything, actually. I'm just trying to focus on thinking about nothing and meditate. And then I'm done. And then I get out, and then I grind my beans and make my coffee, and I'm fucking bring on the day. That's me. That's my routine.
So you've sharpened your mind to start the day. That's awesome.
Yeah. What about you? What's yours?
Mine changes, but overall throughout the week, I need to move, so exercise. So now that we're in footy season, I'm training specifically for that. So even if I do go to the gym, it's structured around strength for footy. So there's different exercises I implement into my training program targeted towards footy benefits, if that makes sense. Because if I'm not in footy season, if I'm in an off season, a lot of my strength training at the gym is kind of squat, bench press, and deadlift, and then accessories to strengthen weaknesses. But when you're coming into footy season, because I'm training for footy and I've got footy training on Thursdays, and then, a game maybe on a Saturday or Sunday, you've got to structure your gym workouts differently so you can recover, because at the end of the week, you've got to play a game.
That's right.
You're in a game of footy in a war zone. So so not every day, but I need training-wise, I structure training around that. I make sure that I go and jump in my classic car at least 2 to 3 times a week. I don't have them structured in. They kind of work around my schedule, because I've actually got a calendar for the whole year with different events. Like there's a disco coming up that we're having in the community in Rocky. I had a meeting with a big pub the other day for a venue, and they're looking at helping us out. I've got another meeting next week with a DJ for this disco. We've got another movie nights coming up, I think the end of next month. So I've got events already mapped out in my calendar for the whole year, and then I put events, whether they're with my wife, where it's just us two, or as a family. So they're all structured in there. Then I've got fishing, like the fishing charter. I put them in there for myself. So I think before you ask me how do I do all of this, I try and keep everything as structured as possible. And I think the major thing for me is I don't drink alcohol. I don't think I'd be able to get through all of this stuff and have my mind sharp enough and clear if I was drinking often. So the other thing is nutrition. Like, it's so important eating. You don't have to have a coach. You just have to eat fruit and veggies every day. Eat meat. Don't eat shit. Don't eat takeaways. It's just that simple. It's just that simple. But we live such busy lives that it's so easy to just go and buy a pie or a bacon and egg roll or takeaways, and you know what I mean. And so it just involves a bit more discipline and a bit more planning. So as long as I'm training throughout the week, I'm getting movement in, and I also, with the young fellow I look after, we make sure we go up to the lookout. There's a turtle lookout not far from here. We go up there and you see turtles swimming in the ocean. We go up there once a week. I take him to the gym because he's also got ADHD. So I'm trying to keep his mind occupied as well.
Wow.
So a fair bit of movement. I help coach the girls footy team. So again, I'm moving. It might be just walking or jogging, but I just make sure that I keep movement happening often, because I've noticed that when I stop moving often, I start getting slack. I start eating rubbish. And other things in my life stop moving as well. Progress and community events, and I stop making contact with people that I should be making contact with to keep our community moving forward, and each other, friends and stuff, just progressing. So there isn't like a daily routine I have, but there's kind of a small structure that I have within my weekly and monthly routine to keep everything moving well, and it's nutrition, exercise, or moving, and then those couple of things that keep my mind clear. Fishing on the charter, or fishing in general, either with my girls or on my own boat, and then cruising in the classic car to just clear my mind.
Yeah, sounds really good, actually. Yeah, I think that's you raised something really interesting. Is it's not necessarily like a daily thing that you have. It's a more global way of kind of looking at it. And you've got like, and I think that's actually really interesting because I know I'm different from that. I've realized that having that regular kind of routine in the morning, while it's not everything, it's a lot, and it really definitely kind of helps me be the best version of me every day. And sometimes I can't do it. Sometimes the meditation one, doing some meditation has been a bit of a game changer for me. I've been doing it now for probably close to 4 or 5 months now, almost daily.
I love meditation, breath work, and anything like that targets the mind and puts your mind into a calm state is just amazing. The benefits are great.
Yeah, it is like I'm so glad I found it. Like it's like, and I often ask my wife, which I think is interesting, if we ask our wives and say like, okay, how am I compared to, like, am I like compared to me 6 months ago, or how was I compared to a year ago? And my wife's pretty honest with me, which I think most of us are.
Yeah, they're always honest.
And my wife will be like, yeah, no, you're a lot calmer than you were than you were, for example, 6 months ago, or like, or you don't get as pissy as you were like a year ago, or, and I think that's always a good thing to do. It's scary to ask because I'm always worried that my wife's gonna be like, no fucking change. I'm like, oh shit. but she, and I'm also scared she's gonna be like, no, you're still shitty, or you're still but she's the one that like literally is in the driving seat with me, like we're doing it together.
Yeah, well, if anyone's going to know you best, it's her, right? You've been
100%.
She's seen you at your top and bottom.
Oh yeah, I love that. Yeah, for real. Michael, I want to go into something now because which is a bit of a jump from where we've just been, but it's still there.
We've been all over the place so far, so...
Oh, that's all right. We can just continue on.
Yeah, we'll just keep moving wherever it takes us. I'm happy to just keep chatting, mate.
I think about a month ago, I'm sure you'll remember this, is that you lost someone close to you, a family friend, I think. I can't remember, to be honest. Yeah. And though losing friends, family, those around us, it's hard. I've had friends who have lost their wives, and I've it seems to be as I get older. I'm 48. I don't know how old are you, Michael?
I'm 39. I'll be 40 in December.
Yeah. Okay. So you're not far behind me. You're catching up, but I'll always be ahead.
No. Sometimes I feel 60. I tell you. Sometimes I wake up and I feel 60, but
yeah.
I think I'm young at heart.
Yeah. It really is like that's how it's like how we really feel, right? As we age, life is going to end at some point, right?
Yes.
What is your kind of like? What do you worry about as you age?
I think as I age further, I worry less about my girl's being fine without me. That's throughout the years, I've worried less and less, but I used to worry a lot about making sure they have the tools that they need to become independent without their father. And, other than that, I'm not... I guess the other thing, probably not worried, but the other thing I'm mindful of is making sure that I can give back enough to the people that have helped me and to the community. those are probably the two main things I consider.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't worry about that second one. I used to worry about my girls, but I can see that they're taking on everything with the lessons I've been teaching them. So I'm probably not even that worried about them right now. Like if I was to pass, tomorrow, then that's cool. There's things in place and systems in place, and they're covered financially, and I've taught them as much as I can psychologically and mentally, that I feel they'll be pretty good, apart from being absolutely devastated as young kids. 11 and 13 is a young age if they were to lose me. But at the same time, I've done a fair bit to kind of teach them and guide them, to be able to be independent moving forward.
Losing the family friend that we mentioned before, has that kind of made you think things any differently, or is it kind of, how's it?
Not specifically. I'm also at the same transition period in my life where I'm losing more friends, family members, because as we get older, people pass away. So it's more common now as we get older to experience loss and funerals, and that sort of thing. So I don't look at things differently. I'm not reactive to funerals. I try and be proactive before funerals happen, if that makes sense. I try and make contact with people if I can, and let people know that I care about them while they're here, because we're all on borrowed time, and at some point we're all going to not be here. So it's I don't know. To me, it's not a lot. You haven't lost someone to me. They were always only here on borrowed time. It's just another reminder of that and confirmation of that when they're no longer here physically. As sad as funerals are, they always bring people together. And that week that I spent with the family was amazing. We heard so many funny stories of the little stubborn brat that he was, and the sort of things he'd done. And, we all shared stories and laughed, and we all came together. And that's the other thing that comes from, somebody passing away, is everybody gets together. There's certain people you haven't seen in 20 years, 15, 5 years, that you see only during those events happening. So as sad as it is to have somebody pass away, there's also positives that come out of it. You meet different people, you make new friends, you meet people you haven't seen in so long. So I try and look at things in that sense rather than being, it's still devastating when people pass away. There's nothing that can ever prepare you for it. But it was also a good experience for my girls to see. They came to the funeral, and because we're still teaching them. We've been through, I don't know how many funerals I've been through. Like back home in New Zealand, in our culture, like we dig the grave when we have a funeral, we dig the grave by hand with shovels. It's a part of the grieving process, and it's a part of helping the immediate family deal with grief. So, and it's a very confronting, I don't know if you've been to any funerals back in New Zealand, but it's a very confronting experience if you haven't experienced a funeral back there before.
Actually, I haven't actually, no. So not a traditional one, no.
So usually we'll have the body at either like a marae, which is a tribal meeting place, I guess you'd call it. And the body would usually be there for a couple of days, and people will visit from wherever they live to come and pay their respects, and the casket will be open, and this body will be laying there in state. And you'll have songs together, stories, everybody will cry. So if you haven't seen a body before, it's a very confronting experience. And one of my cousins passed away in Brisbane when we lived down there years ago. And my wife, who's Australian, hadn't experienced this, the way that we have funerals and how the body lays there with the casket open while everybody grieves. And It was very confronting for her, but at the end of it, she got to grieve and she understood how the process worked and you know, what the benefits from that process was of having an open casket and being so confronting. And now we recently had, you know, my mate's funeral, you know, 3 or 4 weeks ago. She was a bit more prepared for that and understood what to expect. But it's never easy. You know, it's never an easy process to say goodbye to someone. You know, we all know that at some point we're going to die, but when there's a funeral of a loved one or a friend, it's just a bleak reminder. You know, it's like, yeah, right, okay. It's just the world reminding us that, you know, you're not guaranteed tomorrow.
It is, and it's such a, it comes with like a lot of kind of deep thought and deep emotions, doesn't it? Because it's when, you know, it's when we're not here or someone's not there, you know, like and I think everyone has their own ways of dealing with it and preparing for it, you know, like,
yes, yeah.
I think even if I think back just even a couple of years ago, I think like if I was thinking about, you know, like if I wasn't here, I used to get really anxious and quite stressed, worried about it, because I knew that, you know, so much would be on my wife to, you know, to carry on, and kind of a lot more stress would be put on my wife to kind of move forward and deal with the kids and all these other things. But I actually
sorry to cut in, but I actually increased my death cover for that reason. I increased my death cover, so if I was to pass away, my family would be fine, you know, financially. Obviously, the mental burden's going to be devastating, but that financial side, there's no problems there in that sense. And I think we can only just do what we can, because I used to worry a lot, like, you know, we've got wills done up and all sorts of stuff, and I used to worry a lot, like thinking, shit, like I'm kind of the main support here, but they'll figure it out and they'll adapt because they'll have to. But the other thing is having, like, we've got some really good friends in our small group of friends. You know, we've only got a handful of friends, but they're very good people. So I'm not, you know, having them, knowing that they'll be here if I was to pass away. My wife and kids would be fine. They'd have a really good support network. Our community would support them really well. We've got a really good community here, and financially they'll be set up fine. Yeah. So I've kind of, you know, over the years, I've just accepted that at some point, if I were to pass first, and I told my wife I was going to die before her because I probably wouldn't be able to handle losing her passing away before me. So I said, right, I'm going first, but you guys will be sorted. You guys will be sorted when I go.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think that's so true. I think, men. If the wife leaves before us, is that we really struggle. We really do struggle with this, and it's the statistics are there for anyone who wants to dive into that. But
I mean, I did say to her I'd trade her in for a younger model.
Oh my God! Oh, what did she say to that?
She just said, she laughed. She knows I was just being an idiot. I don't think I would never be able to replace her. You know, we've been together for almost 15 years. You know, that's what do they call it? A dime? Is it 20 years? A dime is 20 years in jail. I think they call it.
I don't know.
I think it's 20 years. They call it a dime. So I've almost done a dime. Yeah.
I think marriage it's an amazing journey, and I think both parties evolve as we go forward in this. I know I have.
You have to be open to change, and you have to be accepting of not being perfect for it to happen and work. you know, and it's never marriage. Your marriage is never ever finished. You know, you're never ever at 100%. There's always things to work on. There's always apologies to be made, and to accept that you've made mistakes, and to move forward with that and be like, yeah, righto, I'm not perfect. That's cool. We can keep working on this.
Yeah, for real.
But that time that you give to each other is invaluable. You know, it's priceless. You can't get that anywhere else.
Yep. No, 100%. I totally agree with you. Michael, when I contacted you about coming on this podcast, you were pretty keen, and you're like, yeah. What was that? Because a lot of dads, well, not say that. Some dads are not keen to kind of get out there and share the journey, share the story. Why were you keen to do it?
I'm at a part of my journey now where I'm much more open. You know, I think I've got a lot of life experience to help others, and I'm open to speaking about, you know, everything that's happened, because if I share these things with other people, it might help them. So, you know, originally I was like a bit thrown off, but I took it quick, and thought, well, we can just have a chat. And I enjoy chatting to people anyway, so for me, I'm not on a podcast. I'm just having a chat with, a fellow mate that's been following my journey for a while, and we've been chatting anyway. So this isn't like a task to me. It's just, we're just talking and having a laugh, and it's probably another thing that us men need to do anyway. So I would encourage it. I would encourage this, you know, instead of people other fathers that are kind of a bit standoffish about it, instead of looking at this as a podcast, it's just a couple of mates having a chat and talking shit, and that's all it is.
That's exactly
and just
what
being honest, and just being honest. You know, there's no, you know, we're not playing anything for cameras or anything. We're just having a chat and being honest about what we've experienced as individuals in life. Yeah,
and that's exactly kind of what I like about what we've done today, and why I sit down here, why I got up at 5 o'clock in the morning, and I set my alarm. I was like, yeah, I'm fucking doing this, because of that reason of just sitting down and, like, you know, I really recently realized I get into a bit of a flow state with these things, with sitting down and talking like this. It's like, and I only realized it about a month ago, really, that I get into this state because it's something I really enjoy, because I just, and there's no alcohol as well. There's not sitting here drinking booze while I'm doing this. It's almost like this. It's a real conversation, but we're you know, in different countries, in different time zones. But we seem to be able to have a real conversation, and I've never met you. Like, we've followed each other, we've been messages back and forth over the past year, but we can sit here and we can have a conversation about what it's like to be a dad, and be open about the kind of, you know, the struggles that we have and the joy that we have doing it, because there's a whole lot of fucking joy that goes on. And it's balanced, of course, with you know, the frustrations of being a dad, you know, and I think at the core of it is that men really just need to, you know, be open about how life is with their friends. It doesn't mean they have to kind of put it out into the big wide fucking world like this. It doesn't mean that. This is great, but why don't we can just sit down, have a coffee, and have dinner together, and just be like, dude, how the fuck are you, man? Like, what's going on in your world? Like, you know, are you like? And I think those don't happen enough for me. I'll be really honest. They don't happen enough for me in the, like, physically, like, but I think they're so important. I really think they're so important.
I think, like, I'm a massive advocate for men's psychological health. It's, you know, we've come a long way over the last probably 30 years or even 10 years since, you know, with making it normal to have these conversations and being open about things. And if we're not feeling okay, I actually went to a meeting down in Brisbane a couple of years ago, and it was to help. They've got a program down there. I forgot what it was called, but they've got a program, and it's to do with mental health. And we were broken up into groups. There's 8 or 10 groups of 5 people, and we're broken up into groups, and we were asked these questions. One of the questions was, why do you think people don't open up about suicide when they're feeling suicidal, and what do you think we can do to, assist this problem we're having with people not opening up? And I said, well, for me, suicidal thoughts are such a unknown thing. They're not something we experience every day. So for me, it was a very unknown place that I didn't even know how to acknowledge what was happening, to open up about what was happening. And and I said that, and I said, so we don't, we've got different scales for how we're feeling when we're sick and stuff, or with pain levels. Like, okay, I've got this pain in my elbow, 5 out of 10. But there is no scale of level with depression. You're depressed, and there's different feelings, and everybody gets these feelings for different reasons and different experiences. But we don't have a gauge to gauge how somebody's feeling. So how can somebody tell you how they're feeling if there is no standard of level to gauge that? Or we don't have a system, I guess, where it says, okay, you might, like, depression might look like this. It might start with, for this one person, it might start with these habits. Okay, you don't want to be around people. You feel like you can't be happy often. They start somewhere, but they're trying to get these people to speak up with depression when they're at a 9.5 depression level. Do you know what I mean? Like, they're right at the edge of depression, where they're considering the only option is to commit suicide. You need to approach them when they're down at 3 or 4 and understand what that looks like for each individual, because each person's going to be different. A 3 or 4 for you or me or my wife or our friends are all going to be different. So we need to have some sort of gauge or a system in place where, we start teaching people what it starts to feel like or look like before they get to a 9.5 and become suicidal, because at that point the mind's taken over. The mind's in charge, and it ain't going to listen to anybody, to come back down and pull yourself back down out of that rut, down to a 3 or 4 where you can manage it.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, it's I feel like it. I mean, I myself haven't been in that position of feeling like we need to end my life. I haven't been there.
Yeah, I have, and it's not a nice place to be in. Yeah, and I'm open about it now, but for a long time I felt, embarrassed. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I got a wife, I got kids, and I still felt like that was the only option, but I didn't understand at the time what got me there. So now I have these, like, a system in place for myself to not allow myself to get back there. And that's the thing. Everybody's different, with how they get there. Maybe something life-changing happened and they're just not in a good headspace, and then other things start dominoing, where they're drinking, they're not eating, then they're not sleeping, because you have to sleep, you have to eat good food, and whatever you put into your body it comes with sacrifices, and you don't have to, like, play rugby league or do powerlifting, but some sort of movement, is beneficial. Walking, or just catching up with mates and going for a walk up to the lookout. Something. Fishing's good if you enjoy fishing, because you get a lot of walking in during it. So you're helping your body flush toxins and run nutrients through your blood.
Yeah. There's a lot of, I think there's, as we get older, as we get older as guys, I think I feel like there's sometimes we can either get really lazy and just think, fuck, whatever, or we can actually do something. We can actually kind of make a change to ourselves, which actually then has a really positive effects to those around us. And that's kind of how I've chosen to go. I've chosen to kind of be more aware of myself. I was never really aware of how I really felt. Like, how does my body feel when I eat this? And how's my heart rate?
Yes.
I was fucking like, I was totally oblivious to that shit for so many years. I'm more aware now, and I think, when you're aware of like I'm aware of who I am and what I'm doing and how I'm feeling. That's going to allow me to make better choices as well. Like it's just, and I think that's important. I think that's so important.
I think what people don't understand is how important nutrition is. Nutrition is. Like, I tracked food for probably 2 years straight, where I was weighing everything that went into my body for powerlifting competition, and the difference that you get. Weighing food isn't for everyone. For athletes, it has to be done. Otherwise, you're kind of shooting in the dark. You know what I mean? Like, you don't understand what you don't know exactly what's going into you and what you need to adjust for performance and recovery. But if anybody that's listening to this can change one thing, if it was nutrition, and like I said, it just needs to be fruit and veggies each day, meat, steak, mince, fish. Obviously, if people have different are allergic to certain foods, or they have, they're gluten free, then you've obviously got to adjust to that. But if anyone can adjust anything in their lives, nutrition should be the one thing.
Yeah, no, I really agree. I totally agree with that. Perhaps there's a whole new kind of podcast we can do later on down the line. We can talk about food, and I'd love to, because we've talked about such a wide range of things here, which is fantastic, and I love it. And it reminds me of like how many points there are of aspects of dad life and human life, even. It's not just dad life.
And it's flowed really well. Like, we've been talking for an hour and a quarter. It's flowed really well and gone quick, mate. Like,
it has.
I feel like we could probably just do podcasts forever and just talk and like, I actually just had my wife just was tapping on the window saying I gotta go, because she's just taken off in the car and taking the girls down the footy, so it's gone quick. I've enjoyed the chat.
Yeah, no, it's been really nice, and I appreciate it's been so good. And I was like, man, I really want this to be a great episode, and I never know where it's going to go. And every episode I sit down here, I always walk away and think, man, that was so good. Like,
that's cool.
And it's surpassed. I didn't really have an expectation of this, and it surpassed everything, because it's just been so good and so real. And I feel like that's always when we're real about stuff. That's when it starts to kind of mean something to us, So
I've been looking at increasing followers through my business page, Firehook Strength, and I've had a couple of people say to me, because I've seen some of my posts with the young fella I look after with Down syndrome, and they've said, why don't you guys like do more like recording while you're out, like video recording? And I've said to them, that doesn't feel genuine to me. Like, I need to try and find an avenue where we can kind of capture our moments and because we laugh so much when we're out in public. We joke with each other. He doesn't have personal space, so we're always tickling each other, and it's just a blast, And so many people see us out, and they're just like, oh my God, you guys have, like, you look like you're having the best time.
I thought it was your son, didn't I? I thought it was your son.
Yes. You thought he was my son, but probably because we've gotten very close to each other, because I've had him for over 3 years now.
Yeah,
So I
dude.
know him inside and out. I know when I rock up, I know within 5 minutes whether he's tired or not, and
Yeah.
whether we need to restructure our day so it's a low energy day. And I also know within 5 minutes whether he's gonna just be at me all day, so we can tag in a 40-minute walk up the Turtle Lookout, or we're going to the gym or playing basketball. I do boxing with him too. We both got gloves on and we're boxing
Oh,
each other.
awesome. Oh, that's
So
so good.
it's kind of, but
I,
I'm just trying to look at an avenue where I can increase my following so that I can help more people
mm,
without with staying genuine. So I'm kind of working
yeah.
on that at the moment, where I can capture our adventures and our kind of day in the life, but not be like, hey, look at me. I
Yeah.
don't like that,
Yeah,
because I grew up in the
I'm
80s,
totally with you.
90s. So I'm
Yeah.
just, we're working towards it.
Yeah. No, I'm totally with you on that. And I have kind of spells where I do it and then I'm like, "Ah, just doesn't feel fucking real. Like this is
Yeah,
not natural." And I'm like, "No,
yeah,
like I I want it to be authentic and I want it to be real." And sometimes you can't. Like unless someone's filming you
yeah,
and you don't even know they're filming and you're like, "Oh, that's a fucking great, like awesome. Can you send me
yeah,
that?" That's
yeah.
the gold right there. That is the gold. Um but anyway, Michael, I've loved this chat, and I really feel that I'd love to have you back on in the future. I'm going to say it right now. I'd love to have you back on, kind of diving into some different topics, kind of more depth topics, perhaps about
Yeah, cool.
whatever it is down the line. But it's been a great chat, and I really appreciate your time this morning and everything, man. It's been awesome. So
It has
cool,
been
man.
awesome, mate. I've appreciated it as well. So thank you for having me. I've
Yeah,
had fun. It's been cool catching up, and although we haven't met each other, it's felt like we've known each other for a long time, and everything's flowed really well.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I totally agree with you. It's like I feel like if I came down to Queensland and I was like, "Hey, dude, like, how you doing, man?" It would
Yeah,
just be
yeah,
like, because of how we've allowed it to happen, you know.
yeah.
And I think
I,
that's
I
that.
feel like you. I feel like you should book a flight for next Anzac Day and come and drink Pepsi
Yeah.
Maxes. Come and drink Pepsi Maxes with me and
Pepsi
play
Max is
some
when you're
two
down
up.
there.
Pepsi
Yeah,
Maxes
yeah.
and two up at the. That way we could do a live podcast, mate.
That's right. That's right. Oh my God. It's all going to happen, mate. It's all going to happen. I've got enough people in Australia. I can come down and visit as well, so that's good. I'll make it happen. My sister lives in Melbourne, so it's I've got probably more people in Melbourne than I do in New Zealand now.
You'll have
More
to
people in
come and
Australia,
stay
I
at
should say. Sorry.
there's Great Keppel Islands. Have a look at them online when you finish. Great Keppel Islands are just here off the coastline. It's about 30 minutes on a boat.
Oh
There's a
wow.
ferry that goes over there. They've got accommodation. They normally have a country music festival there in New Year's, and it's a big island. So check
Oh
out Great
wow.
Keppel Islands.
Okay, I'll have a look at that. Great good point. Okay.
Great Keppel Islands. That's where we live. We're on the coastline, just directly across from the Great Keppels.
Ah, awesome. I'll check it out. All right, Michael. Well, I am going to go have my morning coffee and my do some more stretches and movement, and you're going to go off and going to go play a game, coach the game. So,
Yeah, we've got to coach the girls. They've had a couple of weeks off due to school holidays, so we'll see how
right.
they travel today and ease back into it.
All right. Awesome, man. Cool. Great stuff. Thank you, Michael. Thanks so much again. Hey, thanks for coming on.
Thank you,
It's been
mate.
awesome.
You have a good day, hey, and we'll keep in touch.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Take it easy, man. Enjoy the sunshine out there. Thanks, man.